crime situation, yeah, it's a very difficult question. It's getting worse. We have to be honest. It's getting worse. But then the challenge is that there's people who, in the process of it getting worse, they do not want the balance of the narrative in terms of curbing crime. But also the advantage is that we now have, I would say, both formal and informal media.
Sure.
Including social media. Now, it means that some of the crimes that were suppressed in terms of public awareness, not suppressed in terms of commission of the offense.
Yeah.
Now they can come to the public. Let me give an example, Sizwe. If I could come to your house and do whatever I want, while I had political connections and connections within law enforcement, it could trend on the social media, even though the mainstream media is not covering it.
Sure.
Even if I have my people in the law enforcement who can cover me or protect me, social media can still say, but this is what happened. I would give a plethora of examples, but let me pack it there.
Very interesting.
Yes.
So in some ways, it's getting better, but in some ways, because of the change in technology, we have a situation as well that could make it worse, depending.
Yeah, I'm referring to the Section 205 mandate from the Constitution, which is curbing crime, combating, detecting, and preventing, also ensuring public safety.
Yeah.
I'm saying that in a general sense, because we don't enjoy the same level of public safety in the country.
Yeah.
We don't enjoy the same level of prevention of crime. Where we are, they enjoy a different level of crime prevention than in a rural area.
Yeah.
The combating that happens to certain individuals is different to the combating that would happen to me and you or to a different person if I was to be robbed or hijacked on a highway.
Sure.
Or someone was just to come and shoot me. The detection aspect from the Constitution, it's very standardized in the Constitution, but we know down there's people. We have a case that has been now in the courts in and out for over 10 years, which is a case that was supposed to take less than a year, in my understanding. You see, now we are moving towards a different direction. There's those who don't want the public to enjoy public safety, prevention of crime detection, as well as combating.
Sure.
There's those who have the access and they misuse it, or they use it for just the few who has perhaps leverage or access to the inner cycles. And now we want, or we wish to see a situation whereby things could be standard or could be standardized to a certain extent. If some people come and shoot all of us here, we enjoy the investigation even if we have passed away. Similar to if it was to happen elsewhere. So those are the issues we're moving into. I was recently perusing the Protection of State Information Act, which was a bill. I'm not sure if it's now an act, but I saw an act, a physical one. I'm not sure if it's been signed by the president.
Yeah.
I'm saying this because this is around one issue that I mentioned on week 1 of Madlanga Commission, whereby I said we must be very careful about the heroism in law enforcement, particularly around excessive classification of information. Can be that I'm in my home with my wife and kids, they kill me, then they kill my wife and kids. What threat did my kid pose to whoever, whether to law enforcement or to private criminals or what?
Sure.
But we need to find a situation whereby if in the process of creating justice, we created some level of injustice, it needs to be addressed, not swept under the carpet. And that's what people did not understand. And I think perhaps through this platform, I might get a better opportunity to explain it, to say everyone deserves justice in the country. We must have 100% not 100% no resistance, but we must have 100% resistance towards criminality in all its forms.
Sure, even if it comes from law enforcement.
Yes, and 100% intolerance towards any form of criminality, even if it's done by either the politicians, law enforcement agencies, or even business people. Because one of those who enjoy Hlubi, it's the business people.
I heard you saying this. I loved your interview with David Mashabela, by the way. And I wanted to go deeper on this topic with you because you mentioned business people and you also mentioned that it's not about race, which I thought was very important. Because right now we see criminal syndicates often are conflated with, let's say, one race in South Africa. But I suspect, I could be wrong, that if you go deeper and deeper and higher, you'll see that this is not just about the low-level figures that we might know who are in court, but actually increasingly powerful people of all races and even international connections.
Funny enough, yesterday I just went to visit one of the best private investigators in the country. We were sometimes in the PhD together, but he graduated before me. Now, he asked some of the questions to me, and he said, what happened in Phoenix? Did the people there enjoy the same attention when they were being killed, when they were being in Durban? Did they enjoy the same support from law enforcement or not? If not, why? I said, I don't know. And even I can pose it to you to say, which race, you mentioned it, but which race is actually being profiled to be criminals? Is that true?
Yeah.
But then also, you listen to Madlanga Commission. There's some racial bias towards a particular race and positioning them as like the forefront of criminality in the country. Now, is that true or not? So, especially at the national level, you know what worries me? I actually stopped taking interviews for the Madlanga Commission. I no longer go there. Of course, maybe I might in future, but now I'm avoiding those interviews because there's apparently this public narrative that wants us to agree to everything. I mean, I've studied intelligence up to postgraduate level. I've been in intelligence, not necessarily working in intelligence, but I've seen what intelligence means.
Sure.
I've seen quality intelligence. Is a WhatsApp screenshot intelligence? No, you can answer. As someone who has a PhD, it's a WhatsApp screenshot intelligence.
I mean, it's not conclusive proof. That much.
Okay, yeah. Now, what I want to say is the fact that I'm here with you, what intelligence would mean is the triangulation that both these guys were in the same area, on the same floor, with the same GPS coordinates. Their phones were with them. They were active. We could also tap into the audio recordings. Now, that's intelligence. Why am I saying this? The international cartels who are benefiting from criminal activity in South Africa are watching Madlanga Commission. Once you position the state intelligence to say we cannot decipher and transcribe a WhatsApp voice note, you are weakening the state's intelligence capacity.
Sure. And
you cannot testify under oath and say we cannot transcribe a voice note.
I remember that. And there were calls as well.
Calls.
And the evidence leader said we don't have access to the calls, just the text.
Is that intelligence? At its highest level, is that intelligence? Intelligence from different countries are in South Africa to protect their countries, the sovereignty of their countries, but also the business interest.
Sure.
Others are here taking advantage of the weak law enforcement. And that's what we're trying to protect, to say individualism aside, what we wish to see is South Africa prospering.
Yeah.
We have, I think, one of the headquarters of...
That is why, there was a time I was saying, when it comes to for example, the Constitution of South Africa, right? You know that people, they say, Constitution of South Africa is the best one in the world and everything. And then because we are South Africans, we get melted. Our hearts melt because we are recognized, or the Constitution is recognized as the best one. But you will find out that actually the reason why they are doing that, it is so that we can melt. And then when we are melting and then we become weak and then we think that the Constitution is the best one, because they know that in the constitution there are loopholes. Then they take those loopholes and use it against us. Okay? That's why I'm saying, that's why I can agree with him actually. To say, whatever that you think people are praising about you, chances are that's where they want you. That's where they want you to actually think and being like, it's the best one, and then you keep it. You don't change it. You don't do anything on it because they told you it's the best one. I'm just saying because he's making a very good point here.
Interpol is here in South Africa for Southern African region. Now, we need to showcase our abilities. I was speaking to some guys from Interpol.
Yeah.
They mentioned issues, of course, among others, and it was unfortunately before the uncertain passing away of Minister Mthethwa, former Minister Mthethwa. They told me that Thabang, we are worried. There's people who've been excessively deployed to the missions in other countries. They call it secondment. That have been seconded to other countries. Some of them, they've been seconded for the past 10 years. It's always them. After the 3 years, they come, they are seconded. And now they asked me, they actually solicited my view to say, because currently it was signed by the minister, the one who said, I don't know, is it a precautionary suspension or what?
Yeah.
Then they said he was the one signing it. Was it actually supposed to be signed by him or by the National Commissioner of the Police? Because I gave my view, I gave my opinion, professional opinion to that matter. But that's also another issue to say, when we position South Africa not to be able to do certain things, whereas some people know that South Africa is actually capable of doing that. Perhaps we just didn't call the right people, which is why in one of these commission interviews, I mentioned that call the Inspector General of Intelligence to Madlanga Commission.
Why do you think he would be an interesting witness?
He's the key custodian of intelligence in the country. The South African intelligence is an extension, does not enjoy full constitutional rights to do intelligence. It is an extension of the national intelligence, which is through either the National Intelligence Agency or the State Security Agency. But it's one person, Inspector General of Intelligence. And I thought it was still one of the profs I used to work with, but I realized it's no longer him, it's another person. But we said, allow this person to come and clarify certain things, Sizwe, because we need to enjoy public safety in the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
And someone also called me to make me aware of certain issues, to say the M5. Of course, you are speaking about is it top 5 or what?
The big 5.
The big 5. He was telling me about the M5.
Okay.
Which are some of the taxi modules, whom by the time that we now focused on the public disclosure by the Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal, they were at an advanced stage to pull the net on the M5, which was the cartel that's controlling the taxi industry in South Africa.
So this is a separate cartel from
I cannot confirm
or
that.
Potentially. Okay,
I've listened to the report by the SIU, by the way, and I do not want to capacitate the criminals. I do not also want to weaken the state's case.
No, absolutely. And I don't want you to. So if there are things you feel you can't answer, absolutely.
Yes, so
fine.
that's what the guy was telling me. So it was unfortunate that at that time they were pulling the strings on that cartel in the taxi industry, but also other cartels, very serious cartels. Because criminality in South Africa, I was at a different conference and I asked the researchers there, what are we doing about, I would say, marine crime or the crime that occurs at the harbors?
Sure.
Because in my view, besides the airspace, our second weakness is Durban and Western Cape and Cape Town, whereby there's a lot of criminality that occurs, that penetrates Africa towards through Durban and through Cape Town.
Sure. Drugs, all kinds of illicit trafficking.
Just a lot. Human trafficking. The shipping of ammunitions into Africa through these ports.
Wow, I never thought of that one.
Why are we looking away? And which race Is it still the same race that's portrayed to be forefront of criminality, or is it a different race? Why are we looking away? The bias. Okay, let me make my bias. I'm a staunch supporter of law enforcement, particularly the provincial commissioner of Gauteng is my former national commissioner.
Okay.
When I was still in law enforcement. The national commissioner is my former commissioner when he was a provincial commissioner, and when he was a divisional commissioner responsible for back to basics.
General Masemola.
Yes.
Okay.
Just after World Cup. So I'm a staunch supporter of those gentlemen.
And this is when you were a detective. Right?
Yeah, when I was a detective.
Yeah.
Particularly this young general, the provincial commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal. When he was made a general in 2011 around there, it brought hope for all of us. And since then, there's been, I think there was time when Mbalula was a minister.
Yeah.
And Mbalula initiated something in the SAPS around grooming young police officials to become leaders within police.
Okay.
That has been a very nice program. But it was later diluted when he left. And if you look at it now, you find that there are chairpersons, youth in policing, something like that. They are now, they actually now just, how do I put it? It's tokenized. You find someone who's in a very junior position, they call him a chairperson of youth in policing. I'm like, are you proud, my brother? With your qualifications and your achievements that you are at this level? This is not what was envisaged in the whole program. The idea was to have young proficient police officials going up the ranks and actually having the capacity and the ability to lead the SAPS into a new direction. But that went different way, of course.
What are the key crimes that organized syndicates are involved in? And what separates organized crime from just regular criminality, particularly in South Africa? How can we find clues that this is something deeper than just a random crime, for example?
Very sensitive question, once more. And there's organized crime which I will opt not to speak about.
Sure.
I'm raising kids, I have a wife and all that.
Yeah, sure.
But there's crimes that we don't pick as crimes. Let me give an example which I love to give to people. You have someone who has 10,000 illegal immigrants as their employees. Not registered with the Department of Labor, not paying certain taxes. People are working day to day. This person is a multi-millionaire or a billionaire. Is that not organized crime? They even ship the people into the country, of course, through human trafficking.
No ways.
You have people who are running some of the biggest security establishments. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
You go and look. Man, nationality, sometimes you can pick it. Find someone who's, you saw how tall I am. Did you see how tall I am? You find someone who's extremely taller than me. Their stature tells you that this one is from a different country. And now you have those people working in some of these biggest security companies. Some of these people between Johannesburg and Pretoria, who are always in these black cars that are doing private VIP security and all that. Some of those guys, when they come out, you find that an X5, it's just below their shoulder. An X5, someone that tall is working there. They don't have a Sierra card, but they are working, and we enjoy that. You see them at political rallies. So I wanted to show you that organized crime is not always what we think about it.
Sure.
I once investigated a crime, a cash in transit. It was a very nice cash in transit. How it happens, in the farming areas, where the biggest farming areas, those farmers, you'd find that they have their own cash in transit company. It just transports money for them only. Now, this guy was from here in Florida, staying there on deckers. When he knocked off on duty on a morning, he collected money the whole night in the farms. He just knocked off with the money. He never went to deposit the money. just knocked off and disappeared. One of the things I found, he was a Caucasian. The guy was illegal in the country. He's been in the country illegally since 1991. He's working as a CIT.
And then people, they want us to smile. They want us just to smile and just accept everything that's happening. Then they give us some reasons and some whatever. Anyway, you South Africans, hey, one day, you will not know the papa. Telling us next.
Heist, not CIT, heist, a CIT security supervisor.
Wow.
That was many years back. That was one of the cases that gave me, if you check on the internet, you'll find I once got best detective. I used to trend 2012 to 2014 as one of the best youngest detective. Now, those are some of the cases we don't look at.
Who is this guy? Let's see. Nah, my guy, you can't be like talking like that. Yeah, we've got Google. Thabang Mogopa. Kima, crime analyst. Thabang Mogopa, ne? Thabang Mogopa. Thabang Mogopa expert. Nah. Let's see. Okay, this is the guy, right? Thabang Mogopa is a crime expert, forensic scientist, and researcher who works on issues like forensic science, white-collar crime, explosive regulations, and current crime trends in South Africa. He is also a former bomb disposer. Wow. Hey, you are a serious man, Mosman. Disposal specialist in the South African Police Service and holds a master's degree. Listen, when they say he's a former bomb disposer, this guy, if there is a bomb somewhere in South Africa, somewhere there's a bomb, somebody called and said, there's going to be kaboom, kaboom. In other words, he's the guy who goes there and dispose that bomb. Wow. Mogopa often provides media commentary. Okay. And Mogopa is an expert in forensic. We know all of that. Okay. I was just maybe thinking maybe I could find anything that has to do with cases and stuff like that. But the way I'm reading here, it seems like he's a very prominent, very high prominent guy. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's awesome. We can listen to you, my guy.
Then you look into corruption relating to tendering, procurement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is a big one.
Now, let me tell you, when the N1 in Limpopo was constructed, I think they changed construction companies, but the main contractors, I think 3 or 4 times. You know what happened on the day that they unveiled the N1 and all its bypasses? The whole Sanral offices was bent down. Never trended that thing.
Yeah, I haven't heard of this.
And the records disappeared. This thing of buildings burning and all that is not a new phenomenon. But it's just that at times media doesn't cover it.
Sure.
And I'm saying that because some of the biggest companies in construction that you and I perceive to be the best are at the forefront of procurement fraud and tacitly corruption.
Wow. So we think of it as some external criminal entity, but actually at the heart of the economy, there can be these criminal activities as well.
They are the principal perpetrators. All what you see, people are mimicking what they've seen from the biggest. Because when you listen to them, you realize that one was brought in as a BEE partner. He saw what's happening. When he ventured out, he started doing his things.
Yeah.
One was brought in as perhaps a manager or a professional. Then when they ventured out, they started mimicking what they've seen the big ones do.
Wow.
I wanted to mention this one. Why am I forgetting? You know, there's 3 brothers. I forgot. Are they of British? Oh, yeah, but they came to South Africa, I think it was the late 80s.
Sure.
The richest, I think, in Limpopo. Tacitly, you cannot even do any big or mega road construction projects without involving them one way or the other. And the names of the company are so decent that when you listen to the name of the company, you find yourself in there. you think I'm represented. Let's say it's Gauteng construction. It's Gauteng surfacing. It's Gauteng drilling. Things like that. Johannesburg resurfacing. You see? Now, but where am I going? One of these guys, may his soul rest in peace, he passed away. In his own farm, he had plant machinery, which was owned by the government prior to 1994. Multi-million worth of plant hire in his farm. Remember what they did, these people, before 1994? Some of them, they just took whatever they could do. If one wanted an excavator, they just take it. They go and start working. They could not track. When 1995 to, I think, properly they started operating in 1996, the new government.
Sure.
There's a lot of equipment from the South African government that they could not recover.
Wow, just
trucks, excavators, big plant machinery. Now, we don't talk about that as organized crime.
Yeah.
And you find people, when we speak of cartel, I studied economics in my first undergrad qualification many years ago. And I think we used example of the cement cartel, whereby 4 companies would say, let's stop competing, let's fix rates. So just below monopoly is a cartel. Now, you still find a lot of cartels in construction in South Africa. There are multi-billion constructions in South Africa. If it's not company W, it's company Z. If it's not company this, it's company that. We all know them from the top of our heads. You can even just check them. And we think that they are not colluding. I once questioned a certain mayor around the cost of now doing a tar road. To say, it's even accepted, but is it a real cost of constructing? And I think it was said last week by one mayor in Mpumalanga to say the truth is that if you say it costs 4 million per kilometer, the reality is that we can do this thing is in less than 1.4. You see, now cartel, that's how cartels work. To say, let's agree, instead of competing, let's agree that to build a tar road in South Africa, in as much as we know it costs 1 million, including the margin. Okay, let's exclude the margin.
Sure.
In as much as we know, let us give the state a perception that it is worth 5 million.
By all agreeing behind closed doors that that's the price we're going to charge.
Is that not organized crime?
Sure.
So I'm saying what we're looking at as organized crime.
Yeah.
Globally, people are laughing at us. I was lucky to have gone through training intervention of the FBI some years back, 2018. And I'm telling you, people are looking at us and say, is South Africa serious? You see, because so much that we want to look at the popular crimes does not justify to put them at the highest pyramid or echelon of criminality. They might be somewhere, above others, but they're not at the top of the pyramid or the crime schemes.
Sure, what you're saying is really quite something to take in, because I feel like we all know deep down at the highest levels of our economy, there is almost impunity. Politicians, at least they get paraded on TV from time to time, and there's commissions and all of that. But when it comes to the economy, big agriculture, big mining, etc., we just don't know what's going on. Exactly. And in some ways, we come from a history of criminality. Like, who knows what's going on in these big farms that we don't see on TV? And
funny enough, Sizwe, people started, I think, looking at this Thabang guy, post-Madlanga Commission. But look at the interviews I've done on all mainstream media from 2022.
Yeah.
When sometimes when I sleep, I'm like, we've done our best. When there was crime displacement in the Western Cape, I and others were among the very few to say, look, SAPS, start focusing here. This is what's happening. Guess what? The criminality went to Eastern Cape. People, when they did not want to come and analyze that criminality in Eastern Cape, I was one of the very few people who went on public media to analyze that crime, to say this is what's happening, this is what's likely to be the case.
Yeah.
When you look at the arrests, they do match to say this guy said this, and indeed it enlightened the police. Now, those are the issues that people want to support anything that's trending or popularity, but they don't want to face facts for what they are. Would rather settle with trending fiction than untrending facts. But our public safety is in my heart, Sizwe, to say there must be public safety.
Absolutely.
If ever we need to really focus on deep criminality, we must be ready to focus on deep criminality. Let me remind you of what the former, is it Chief Justice Mogoeng, when he retired. You remember those 2 media briefings he said? 60% is what was repeated by this general of KwaZulu-Natal in July this year. But before July, somewhere a few months before, the advocate there, who's is it NDDPP, National Director of Public Prosecution, she said them saying yes, but then she was corrected by the presidency, and then she came back and gave a now well-constructed media statement. But she said that there's serious elements of criminality within the NPA. You see, now that's what I said on the first week of Madlanga, to say you cannot have head of judiciary, the head of prosecution, saying the same thing, and then lastly, I would say one among the highest in law enforcement saying or corroborating the same similar thing, sentiments,
and it's not true. There's no
and
way.
It's untrue. You see,
but
we need to look at it on a national level scale, because crime displacement, it's something that people don't check. You strengthen the law enforcement in KwaZulu-Natal, they go to Western Cape. There's still money, there's still state money, there's still municipalities. These municipalities which are getting, I don't know how to say it, I want to say it decently, but the audit reports are telling you that millions of the state are unaccounted for. The people are working, politicians are not taken to account and all that. Is it right? Is it fair, Sizwe? That you know that you even have now mayors taking the Hawks to high courts to say we opposing the Hawks. We don't want the Hawks to investigate corruption in a municipality. Is that sound?
Sure.
Is that even justifiable?
And I mean, you're taking us into the realm of politics and crime. This was something I also really enjoyed about your interview with David Mashabela, and talk to us about that nexus, because of course if you have criminal intentions, one of the first things to do is disable law enforcement from arresting you or prosecuting you, and part of the way of getting there is to compromise the politicians who control some of these institutions. Is that a legitimate concern for South Africans?
Let me start here, Sizwe. There's no government entity that can function independently from the private sector, which is what even all government leaders must know, including in law enforcement. There's no intelligence of the state that can function independent from private sector. The tracking companies, almost all of them in South Africa, are private.
Sure.
So if you need to track, you're going to use a private service provider. The computers, almost all of them are private. Almost all the tech in state is private. Almost, not all. Almost.
Even guards versus police, there are way more guards than police.
Now I'm starting back there, but at the highest level. Now, we need that form and sense of collaboration to say even the phones that the police officials are using, even the national commissioner, even any provincial commissioner, they are using an iPhone which is created by Apple. It's imported into the country, you see. Now, we need some level of tolerance. Public law enforcement must tolerate private security. including the researchers. You ought to understand that the Constitution, I think it's within the Bill of Rights, in the Chapter 2, where it speaks about the right to expression, freedom of expression. It goes down there to say also academic research. If I'm researching crime, I'm protected by the Constitution to research crime and to publicly share the outcomes of my research. There's also the Publicly Funded Research Act, which says if you did your master's or your LL or your PhD or through any public fund, you must actually come out and not support, but share the outcomes of your research with the public.
Sure.
Which is where the blurry line is. When other people see us sharing outcomes of independent research, they become offended. They even want to bash or to paint us with the same brush that perhaps you are bored or something. That's what the Constitution expects of us, you see. Now, going back to politicians, now you are going to find a situation whereby at times, in certain aspects, the private sector is more capacitated than the public sector. I'll give just a blunt example of private healthcare. If you were to have problems now, okay, eye care. If you wanted to get the right specs or you had a challenge, would you go to a private or public optometrist or ophthalmologist or a hospital? Which one? No answer so that we move.
Definitely.
No, not definitely. Which one would you go for?
You have to let me answer.
If your child is kidnapped, would you rely on private people to track the child, or you'd rely on someone saying, no, there's no van to
Obviously,
go and track your child?
If I had the choice and the means, I'd go with private.
There's more to that.
Yeah.
You see, if you want to be personally protected, your house, you are likely to find that your house has private security. But you have a police station where you are. Why don't you just take off all the alarms and throw them away and rely on the state to say if you call, they answer or they don't answer, but maybe you'll be lucky they answer. They'll come within 2 to 3 hours if there's an intruder.
Yeah.
Versus having a response.
Sure.
You spoke about a very big word, nexus. So I wanted to shape the picture as it is and to paint it clearly for everyone.
Sure.
To understand where we are.
Yeah.
Now, politicians would realize that, okay, the private sector in this aspect is more capacitated than the state.
Yeah.
And the private sector would as well realize that in this aspect, the politicians are more capacitated than the public servants, or the public servants are more capacitated than the politicians. I want to give an example. You go to a situation whereby a mayor is illiterate. I'm reducing it to the level of a mayor so that your viewers, those who cannot understand it up there, they can come and understand it at the local level. The mayor is illiterate. We've seen a situation whereby a mayor could not just read their oath. I swear and so solemnly declare that I will abide by the Constitution and I'll uphold. They could not read that. I think a 2-line sentence. They could not read that. They said, you see? Now, how are they going to read the policy, bylaws and all that? Now you find an MMC who's illiterate. They're a chairperson of a tender committee that has to adjudicate 100 million tender.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? The private sector is going to find their way around. You see? Now, we bring it the other way. We spoke about public sector. And we started with the politicians. Now, public sector, when you find that you have a municipal manager who has a degree in sociology, as Thabang Mogopa would often say, I quote Thabang Mogopa, of course. Now, to what extent does that degree capacitate them for the role of being a municipal manager? You see, you can go to the directors, director generals, and so forth. We saw this week a 20-year-old was given a very high position, I think, of an assistant director or so, and it had to be reversed. If we spoke about it earlier, the people were going to bash us a lot to say, you're jealous, you're this, you're that.
Sure.
But we're saying we need meritocracy in the state.
Absolutely.
We are willing to support the state, the government, but we also pray and wish to have a state that's fully capacitated, a state that is able to protect its citizens, but to render good service delivery to its own residents or citizens. Is that so much to ask, Sizwe? Of course, in the political realm, which I don't want to dwell so much, I'm very careful.
Sure.
But we also need good policymakers. Today, let's go to today's portfolio committee. What happened is that
The ad hoc committee.
yes, they brought an unsigned affidavit, which wrote supplementary affidavit. It was picked by a politician from the opposition.
Yeah.
And he said, how do we accept a supplementary statement? Okay, let me explain what a supplementary affidavit is. You come to my house, I've just been a victim of a robbery. I'm still emotional and all that. I say things. I omit a lot of things. You see?
Yeah.
When now I've made my mind, I understand that there's things I did not tell the police. One, it's Sizwe. Okay, because you have a light complexion. Let's just say I saw a white guy coming into my house. You see?
Order on you.
Anyone. I could give any other example.
Sure.
But I remember, no, that is Sizwe, man. Now I go to make a supplementary. I supplement what I said under oath. I still put it also under oath to say the guy who came is Sizwe. I don't know his surname, but he's popular on the podcast. If I see him again, I will be able to identify him. Then the state will now arrange identification parades and all that. Or I say someone robbed me at gunpoint. But when I sit down, I remember, no, it was not a gun. It was a knife. I'm just giving petty examples. I say I was with Sizwe, we were alone. But I remember, no, there were 2 or 3 guys here seated. Now, my mind is now clear. I make a supplementary affidavit to say, no. I now remember there were 2 guys. They were not active. They were not speaking throughout, but they were there. You see, that's what a supplementary affidavit does. Now, I go back to the answer to say we also need politicians as our lawmakers who are intellectual to assist the country in terms of setting policy that will take our country to the next level. We've been a developing country for the longest time, Sizwe. We might even go back or behind being or below being a developing country. We don't want that. Now, that's a simple example, you see, to say the politicians, the public servants, as well as the private sector, the 3, we need to find a situation whereby there's competence or meritocracy of some level. That's the only thing that will curb corruption. Because some of this corruption, you know that most of the public servants are not even politically affiliated. Most of these director generals joined the government during the previous era, not post-1994. That's what people don't know. They are left with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years before pension. But they did not join the government post-democracy. That's what people don't know. Some of these people are apolitical, but they've seen the weakness of their politicians. These are the people who are hiring their children. These are the people who are appointing themselves in tenders. These are people who would fund their own initiatives. Someone will just go and open an NGO and fund it. They know no one will pick it. You see. Now, that's around the nexus that you asked me about, to say we find ourselves in a situation whereby people are exploiting each other's weakness, particularly the intellectual weakness, which is why you find a politician, when they want to do corruption, they are so aware of their intention to participate in corruption. They would make sure that unqualified people are hired. Instead of transformation, they would champion tokenism. Meaning that they see, okay, we want someone who would not question us a lot because they know they're also questionable. Put you in that position of influence. They always tell you, regardless of the progress or the process that's followed, you are going to appoint this company. Which is why you find a company that has no directors, which was in a state of being what's that state, the final state on CIPC, whereby this on the cancellation status. Now, being given multi-million tender, you can see that there was some incompetence. Of course, there was corrupt elements, but there was incompetence somewhere. It's easy to corrupt someone who's incompetent, Sizu. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Love the show? Rep the movement. Tap join right here to become an SMWX member now. Support bold African media. Join the fam.
In terms of the Mkhwanazi allegations, I mean, yeah, this is quite serious because it speaks to politics and criminal syndicates. And I take your point. We don't yet have conclusive proof, and we shouldn't jump to conclusions. But we do have some indications early that show that there are at least some criminal syndicates who are trying to put pressure on politicians to cover their interests. Those interests could be tenders, or it could be protection from law enforcement with drug trafficking, etc.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen. I don't know what to say, but you see, this guy, what he spoke about, it's actually what we already know. And I've always asked myself, ladies and gentlemen, that this thing of exposing people, exposing things, exposing systems, exposing corruption, exposing crime, exposing that. You know, I'm asking myself whether these exposures that we see, are they going to help us to get to a point where we no longer experience maybe corruption? I may not say maybe totally eliminating it totally, but at least minimizing corruption, you know? Because these things that people are exposing are already there, and we already know them, and we knew them all along. And there are people who know about them, but they kept quiet. When Mr. Mpofu here was actually starting the video on the intro there, he spoke about it's sort of like, you know, criminals versus stirrings. You know, in the movie, there are stirrings, there are criminals, there are stirrings. That will mean those that want to do things correctly, accordingly, following the law, and fighting those that are doing the criminality. They are very few, unfortunately. And those that are doing criminality, they are more, and also they have got some support, even where you don't expect support to come from. You see? So, anyway, I just wanted to react to this because I saw the video a bit. And then I was like, you know what? This is very interesting. Let me just go and listen to this, okay? Thank you for watching with me. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. You know the channel, SMNWX. So you can go and watch the whole interview. Very interesting one. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You have a good day.